Paul Mashatile, the man who could turn servant of the people into lord of the loot. Because let's be honest, this guy's career isn't just a political journey, it's a full-on scavenger hunt for wealth, power, and luxury, all paid for by, well, guess who? You. This is the same Paul Mashatile who struts around the political landscape like he's the second coming of Julius Caesar. But instead of I came, I saw, I conquered, it's I conned, I grabbed, I cashed out. Hey there, amazing viewers! If you're loving the content and want to take things to the next level, why not consider joining the channel? As a member, you'll unlock some seriously awesome perks. We're talking exclusive badges, emojis to flex in the comments, sneak peeks of upcoming videos, and even special shoutouts during the show. Plus, you'll be directly supporting the channel so I can keep bringing you the best content possible. Just hit that join button below and take your seat among the legends. And hey, if you're not ready to join, no worries. Your likes, comments, and shares still mean the world to me. Thanks for being here, and let's keep this party going. Now let's break down the deluxe life of Mr. Mashatile. Because what's the point of being one of the most powerful men in South Africa if you can't flaunt it with not one, but two multi-million rand mansions? That's right, folks. While ordinary South Africans are drowning in poverty, Mashatile is diving into gold-plated swimming pools. But the man isn't just a politician. Oh no, he's a masterclass in how to get rich by selling your soul to the highest bidder. Contracts here, bribes there, a few political favors sprinkled over the top like garnish. And voila! You've got yourself a one-man empire of corruption. Now, Paul likes to paint himself as a leader who understands the plight of the people. You know, that classic ANC Crocodile Tears routine. We must uplift the poor. We must fight inequality. And what better way to do that than by accumulating more wealth than the GDP of a small country? Because hey, nothing says man of the people like living in palatial mansions while the people who voted for you are lucky if they can afford bread. But here's the thing. Paul Mashatile's mansion fetish is just the tip of the iceberg. This guy's corruption game is so elaborate, he probably needs a flowchart to keep track of it all. Shady contracts, backroom deals, political favors, you name it. And if you think his pals aren't getting a piece of the pie, you're out of your mind. Ah, yes, the bodyguards. Now, usually, bodyguards protect you from harm. But Mashatile's personal army of muscle isn't just keeping him safe from danger. Oh no, they're keeping him safe from accountability. Because when you're rolling in dirty money, the last thing you want is some pesky little journalist or investigator snooping around your affairs. And what better way to silence the truth than by having an entourage ready to intimidate anyone who gets a little too curious? The hypocrisy is almost impressive. Paul Mashatile claims to be a man of integrity, but his version of integrity looks like a wallet that's never empty and a conscience that's been evicted. Integrity? Paul wouldn't know integrity if it danced in front of him wearing a neon sign. He's got more scandals than the Kardashians have selfies. But unlike them, his brand isn't built on reality TV. It's built on skimming, scheming, and screwing over the country. And while he's busy playing Monopoly with taxpayer money, his allies are working overtime to cover his tracks. Because when you're that deep in corruption, you can't just stop. You've got to keep feeding the beast. But wait, there's more. Because if you think Paul Mashatile's only crime is living large and making shady deals, you haven't been paying attention. The man's got connections in all the wrong places. And when you're surrounded by people who are just as corrupt as you are, the protection racket becomes ironclad. Now let's talk about those mansions, because having two luxury estates is just so excessive. But of course, when you're Paul Mashatile, excessive is just a word poor people use to describe having clean water and electricity. One mansion for the family, one mansion for, what, the ego? Or maybe that's where he stores all the loot he's siphoned off from the people of South Africa. Or better yet, maybe that's the house where he and his cronies gather to scheme up their next big score. But don't worry, Paul. I'm sure when the truth finally catches up to you, you can just buy yourself a third mansion. You know, somewhere cozy and tropical where extradition laws don't apply. And while we're on the topic of dirty money, let's not pretend this guy doesn't have allies greasing the wheels of corruption. Because when you're running a scam this big, you need partners. Loyalists who will swear you're as clean as a whistle while they help you launder your reputation. And speaking of allies, where are all those investigations into Mashatile's finances? Oh right, they're buried so deep, They've probably hit the Earth's core by now. Or maybe they're just sitting on someone's desk, conveniently ignored for the right price. But here's the real tragedy, folks. While Paul Mashatile is busy hoarding wealth and making backroom deals, South Africans are suffering. Unemployment, poverty, crime, real problems that need real solutions. But Paul? He's too busy counting his money to care. Too busy protecting his empire to lift a finger for anyone who isn't helping him line his pockets. And when the pressure's on? When the investigations finally start closing in? Well, that's when you really see the coward beneath the expensive suits and polished speeches. The man who would rather burn down the whole country than face justice. But here's the thing, Paul. Even you can't hide forever. Your mansions, your bodyguards, your political connections, they're all just a house of cards. And when it all comes crashing down, I hope you've got a cozy little jail cell picked out. Because that's where you belong. Now, when it comes to scandals, Paul Mashatile doesn't just dabble. He dives in headfirst like a gold digger at a billionaire's funeral. This man has more skeletons in his closet than a haunted house. And those mansions of his? Maybe they aren't just homes. Maybe they're storage units for all the dirty secrets he's been hoarding. You see, Mashatile's dirty dealings aren't limited to just snatching up fancy real estate. Oh no, my friends. He's got a laundry list of corruption allegations that would make even the most seasoned crook break into a sweat. Take, for instance, those questionable contracts and tenders. You think those lucrative deals just fell into his lap by accident? Please. When you're Paul Mashatile, business opportunities are less about merit and more about who can slip the biggest envelope under the table. And speaking of envelopes, let's not forget about the mysterious donations from people who just so happen to benefit from his political favoritism. Because nothing says, "I'm a man of the people," quite like sucking up to the wealthy elite while the poor keep sinking deeper into the mud. But of course, no crooked empire would be complete without an army of enablers. And boy, does Paul Mashatile have them. From police officers paid to look the other way to political allies ready to defend him with their dying breath, Mashatile's circle of protection is tighter than a drum. And why wouldn't it be? When you're holding the keys to the treasury, you can pretty much afford all the protection money can buy. Oh, and did I mention the business cronies he's kept in his back pocket? The ones who've been feeding off government contracts like bloated ticks on a stray dog? Yeah, it's all part of the game. And Paul Mashatile is playing it like a pro. But here's the kicker. For all his slick-talking, backroom-dealing arrogance, Paul still wants everyone to think he's the ultimate statesman, a visionary leader who's got South Africa's best interests at heart. Oh, Paul, you really had us there for a second. Talking about justice like it's not the very thing you've been dodging your entire career. Talking about fighting corruption when you're practically the CEO of the corruption corporation. And that's what makes him so infuriating. This man stands at the podium and preaches about integrity while his bank accounts are probably getting a workout like an Olympic athlete. But the real comedy here? It's the way his followers just lap it all up. The blind loyalty, the cult of personality, the people who will swear on their mother's grave that Mashatile is an innocent man. Wake up, people! If he's so clean, why does he spend so much time hiding behind bodyguards and dodging tough questions like they're bullets? And speaking of dodging, let's not forget the most important detail. When you're a kingpin of corruption, it's not enough to just get rich. You have to protect your empire. And that's where his well-paid muscle comes in. From police escorts to hired goons, Mashatile's got a personal army at his disposal. Because when you're this deep in the swamp, you can't afford to let anyone pull you out. But hey, can you blame him? When you're living the high life, you'll do whatever it takes to keep the good times rolling, even if it means trampling over the very people you're supposed to serve. Because Paul Mashatile's definition of leadership isn't about building a better country. It's about building a bigger mansion, a thicker wallet, and a fortress of enablers to keep the truth buried. But you know what they say, Paul. The higher you climb, the harder you fall. And when the curtain finally comes down on this little circus act of yours, it's going to be a spectacular crash.